Welcome to another episode of Whatever It Takes, the podcast designed to help small businesses increase their skills so that they can run profitable businesses. We at this show are graced to bring a lot of esteemed guests who are subject matter experts in their industries to help you solve your issues and grow your business. Today, we are graced to have none other than Joseph Essey, who is a subject matter expert in the space of outsourced CFO work and finance. Joseph, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Alvin. Thanks for having me, mate.
It's good to have you here. Joe, for the benefit of our audience, why don't you tell them today a little bit about yourself and who you serve?
Yeah, as you said, I am an outsourced CFO. I work within a business called Business Growth and Exit Specialists. My background is working in small business. I actually came to this space firstly in working in small business, and then I became an accountant.
Yeah.
So the opposite to a lot of outsourced CFOs or CFOs, accountants.
Right.
They're usually an accountant first, and then they offer that business advisory service. But for me, it was always family businesses. I was a CFO for my own family business for about 15 years, and we were able to build that business up and sell it. When I realized what I wanted to do next, I realized, well, what do I really like doing? And I really like working with small businesses, like seeing them grow. So I started this firm 4 years ago, right in the midst of COVID. And
Best time to start a business.
yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Well, it could only go up from there. So,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, your audience sort of knows what an outsourced CFO is. I will describe it as someone who helps small growing businesses manage their finances, cash flow planning, reporting, and giving them the financial acumen and insights that they need to understand how their business is actually performing and how it can perform better.
Oh, that's awesome. And in full governance to our listeners and viewers, I actually utilize Joseph Essey and have been since day dot in the business. Actually, before I even had a cent in the business, I called him in.
My favorite kind of client.
Yeah.
Someone that starts with me early.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We also have a bit of history working for a transnational hospitality supplies company ourselves. I was the head of marketing for a few countries, and equally, Joseph Essey was running the finance side of things. So I had a bit of exposure working with you at that time. So tell me, in your time working with quite a few small businesses, what is it that you enjoy most in outsourced CFO work? What do you find most rewarding?
So the area I really find most rewarding is when I'm able to show my clients what's most valuable about their business. Let's understand the areas of your business that are going well, the areas that are not so well.
Yep.
And a lot of the time, they might even be running their own P&L and looking at their numbers, but they're not properly analyzing, okay, this service or this product is most profitable, this one is least profitable. It's like seeing their mind blown and just going, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that area of my business is going so well and that's what I need to invest in. Delivering those insights and then just seeing their minds work and going, okay, now I know this is the lane I'm going to take. This is the path I'm going to tread because I've got that information now.
That's right. We can just get caught up in the day-to-day operations and just go at full steam. We don't necessarily intrinsically look at every single line item and the 1 degree of change that could be all in all the difference of what's important and what's not important. So do you find that with a lot of your clients? I mean, having someone in your corner specifically for finance can help just, zoom out.
Yeah. And as a small business owner, we're all struggling for time, and having someone there that can really drill down into the important areas of your business and in this case financial performance, and can sort of synthesize that in a way that you can quickly and easily understand. They don't have they're time poor, they're good at what they do, but it's going to take them a lot longer to get the financial information they need. It's a cost-saving exercise to some degree to get someone like me in, deliver that up to them in a bite-size, easy-to-eat format.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite interesting when you look at what some data authorities have reported on, right? I know there was some really interesting statistics from the ABS. Perhaps you can kind of elaborate on that, because I found this pretty profound.
Yeah. Recently, the ABS released some statistics that said that between 2019 and 2023, more than half of new businesses failed.
Wow.
Yeah, which was pretty sobering, and on the back of that, it's suggesting that moving forward, within the first 3 years of operating, 60% of small businesses will fail.
Yeah.
Which is not a fun thing to think about, but a major factor in that is businesses not managing their finances, not intentionally sort of managing and I would say sort of having a strategy for success around their financial performance, and that's the key. So that was quite a sobering thing to read, but it doesn't surprise me too much, based on what I've seen. A lot of businesses don't give thoughts to cash flow planning, particularly small and smart startup businesses.
Yeah,
cash flow planning, having proper financial facilities in place to support your business.
Yeah.
No one likes to see small businesses fail. It's not completely unsurprising, the lack of knowledge and financial acumen that exists in a lot of businesses. Yeah.
Financial literacy, at its core, is fundamental, whether you're a sole trader, whether you're running a small company, or whether you're going into partnerships, whatever the case may be. Financial literacy is something that needs to be just as important, if not more important, than some other areas like your marketing and your sales, etc., and operations, because you need to know how your money's being spent and where to spend. And getting advisory, I think, is really important.
I work with bookkeepers, I work with accountants, and there's a lot of really good ones out there. What a lot of people don't understand is just because it goes through your bank account, that doesn't necessarily mean that's all there is. A lot of the time I'll come across and things aren't being accounted for properly. And a bookkeeper and an accountant can only account for what they know is there. But based on my experience and working with businesses, a lot of the time I'm able to tell them this is the true reality of your financial position, for better or worse. Sometimes it's better. Usually it's worse, unfortunately. But almost always they're very grateful for understanding where their business is at and dealing in a true reality.
Yes.
And that's why I always say, just look, first session with me, it's free of charge, and you don't have to engage me, but let's just get a look at how you're actually going. Yeah. And then you can take it from there. And almost always, I'm shining a light on something they weren't aware of.
Absolutely. It's not just the static position of your business. One thing I've certainly seen in growing mine has been knowing what the run rate will be for the business, but then also having some predictability around where you're going. Yeah. As I've come to see, the more that's come through and the more clients we take on, which God's grace, I'm so blessed to be in this position and hope to keep growing. But the reality is there's so many moving parts in this said P&L. If you're just following a default script on Xero, but not having an understanding of what each line item means and how you can influence it, it'll be quite challenging, right?
Yeah. And you spoke about predictive, like the predictive aspect and forecasting. That's the most fun for me, because it's me using my my skills, but also my experience working with a business owner to say, this is what the future's going to look like. It's the only chance I get to predict the future with some sort of accuracy. Yeah. So, and that is so valuable, particularly when you're looking at things like cash flow planning. And if you're able to see sort of 3, 6, 9 months into the future and say, this is what I'm going to need, these are the resources I'm going to need, and particularly if it's based on your goals and a strategy that you've set forward, and that's where things like budgets are vital. But it's so valuable. It's so valuable for small businesses. Yeah,
it's an interesting period, even with that ABS report, and I guess still the period Australians are in right now. It's a tough economic environment, dude.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? We just come out of COVID. tough time for everyone, you know. And then we've got, you know, rising costs of living, supply chain issues. So I guess why I'm bringing those factors in is, you know, even more so why it's important to get an advisor in your corner in that space, because of all those external macro influences and navigating what's break even, navigating where you need to kind of stabilize or whatever that might look like. I just thought that was important to note because we're still going through that.
Yeah.
And we still got families to feed. Our businesses, for the most part in small businesses, is to fuel the needs of our families and those around us. So
yeah, it's funny. I normally most of the objections I get from potential customers, it centers around I can't afford that service. I'll do it myself, right? And that rarely ends well, and usually ends up costing them a lot more money than what they think they're saving. But I understand the thinking in today's climate of, I've got to save money. But you know, it's when I see business owners like in that situation and then they don't, it rarely ends well. And I might have said this to you before, but it's interesting. I look at people that offer the same services as me, and I actually don't look at them as competitors.
Yeah, good.
As funny as it sounds, I actually look at them as colleagues. You know?
Right.
Because, and the reason being, there is so many small businesses that need our service, that don't have it. There's actually too much for all of the outsourced CFOs that are out there doing this sort of work.
Wow.
To be able to handle. And particularly for businesses that have just started and micro businesses who need that service and feel like they're least able to afford it, which is why I tailor my offerings to businesses like that.
And every business is obviously quite unique in how they operate, right? Yeah. What's important is that you're taking a good understanding of how the business operates and then navigate around that, because each do operate very differently.
The old saying, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you understand what the business is, what they do, what they're struggling with, it's not a cookie cutter approach.
No.
Even to the point that I provide reports and dashboards, I make my own, because I know every business is different and needs to see different things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'm sure as you're kind of putting those dashboards together and having those conversations with people, it's not new news, but AI is here.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation I've had with the last 2 guests on the show.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a positive thing from the perspective that I've seen it as, to increase capacity so we're not doing any mundane tasks repetitively and we're utilizing our time really well. It's a good segue actually into the next bit.
Yeah.
Utilization rate. We hear about it in business. We learn that it's important of how we're using our time. Could you explain to the audience a little bit about utilization rate, or utilization in itself, why that's important regardless of the position somebody has in a business, and what happens when you don't have visibility over that?
Yeah. If you're paying somebody money, what's the value you're getting back from that? And where is that value, and how are you measuring it?
Is it binary though? Like in that way, it's like yes or no? Or is there like, this person must do this, or this person must deliver? Is there is it that black and white?
It's definitely not. No, it's definitely not. So but if you look at it from a purely economic point of view, you're paying money.
Yeah.
And for staff, and they're providing a service, their time. So you're paying money for their time. It's important first to look at how are they spending their time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that providing value to me? Now, value isn't always just monetary value, right? I
was about to say, because you've got to find that culture, right? You don't want to
Correct.
build a transactional business where
That's
the
exactly
culture's
right.
crap.
Yes,
you know?
Correct. But I think what's important is to understand that, like understand where without being intrusive on your staff and their privacy, but understanding, well, this is how they're using their time. And potentially, when you're reviewing that, how can they be utilizing their time better for both themselves and for the business? Look, I've seen businesses where their staff they review how the staff is spending their time, and they say, and when they reveal to the staff, well, look, this is what you're spending it on. I would prefer you're spending it on other stuff that's better for you and better for us. It's a win-win.
So, Joe, one thing that I've certainly seen over the years is the importance of good systems and processes and standard operating means, right?
Yeah.
Because usually you find the utilization of any individual, whether they be in sales, marketing, ops, category, whatever that might be, is when there's no structure. That's where I've seen a lot of that scrambling happen.
Yeah, yeah.
On the flip side, I guess since we're talking about small business here, it is a tough juggle, isn't it, between servicing those clients you're billing, you're receiving money from, say it in plain English, and then also making sure there's some value in trying to find new business, because that's important too.
Yeah.
So I guess my question here is, how important is it to know to the minute of what somebody does versus knowing the output someone's looking to get? I guess it does vary business to business, wouldn't it?
It does vary in the goals you're looking to achieve. But this is where things like budgets are so important, and sort of setting, and not just static budgets, but actually understanding what are your goals for your teams? What's a goal for your business? What are the strategies to achieve those goals? And how are you going to allocate your team members to be able to help achieve those goals?
Yeah.
And if you've got that, and you've set that early, then it becomes easier to sort of review, okay, where's the time of my staff? At the end of the day, privately run commercial businesses, we're there to make a profit.
Yes. I mentioned a few categories earlier, not categories, but positions, I guess. The utilization can look very different, can't it, Joe? Between somebody who does marketing, somebody who's in charge of, say, the warehouse.
Yeah.
Somebody who's in sales, where their job is to make more money.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It comes down to, what their goals are, what their KPIs are. That's an important part to it. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that, though, we're dealing with human beings as well.
Yes.
And it's important to have incentives, programs in place for businesses. I learned a long time ago that the ideal situation is if you can align the goals of the individual with the goals of the business. If you can do that, then you're on to a winner, because you're all working hard for the same thing. Yes. I think it's an old way of doing business. I'm paying you, you just do what I tell you to do.
Yeah.
Your staff have got to be motivated and incentivized.
That's right. If I may comment on that, and it's again, this is not new to the current climate. We're finding that job satisfaction, employee engagement is actually really important.
Yeah.
The ability for staff to walk away from their jobs and then hang around at a family barbecue and talk about what you do with some level of pride is important. But that starts with us as the owners setting the vision, strategy, making sure it's clear how they contribute, not just consume and go home.
Yeah.
So everything you're saying, I totally agree with. But in that same token, you need to find out what's sustainable. There needs to be minimum benchmarks.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't run at a loss, both personally and fiscally. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Every business is very different. Some relatability back to mine. Actually, at the end of the day, I work towards goals and targets that my clients want to achieve.
Yeah.
And then I almost build it backwards to go, okay, how are we going to get that goal? Who in my team is going to help deliver that goal? What platforms, what AI do I need to implement to get this said client to that goal? And then bring that to our meetings and go, okay, this is what we need for this new customer XYZ to achieve what they need to get.
Yeah, 100%. It starts with what are the goals for the business? Where are you at now, and where do you want to be? What are our strategies to achieve those goals? And then on the back of that, what resources do we need to be able to execute those strategies? And then your budgets and your numbers all sort of flow from that.
Knowing where the North Star is. Yep. Yes, it may not affect the weekly catch-ups for CFO work, but at least we're constantly aware that this is sort of what we're trying to ride towards.
Yeah.
To say in lack of a better word, shit happens along the way. That's business. Things do prop up and challenges do come in the way. But one thing for sure is I cannot imagine one business owner to be doing everything and carrying all that weight. We can't be the jack of all trades and the master of none. It just doesn't work that way.
It just puts a cap on how far you can grow. And I've seen business owners that do it and say, "Oh yeah, but can't get good people," or I'm doing everything because then it will get done. Right.
Yeah. Because where's your utilization going?
Exactly.
And I've been totally vulnerable here. That's something I've had to learn to do. Not necessarily let go, because it's a wonderful, euphorical thing to do, but actually realizing, hang on, I shouldn't be spending nights in front of the computer till 11 o'clock trying to figure out what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah.
Get your people around you, get your experts around you to kind of do that for you.
Yeah. And this is an extreme example. I did once take a meeting with somebody who owned a large chain of restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
And he came to them, it was a bit late to the meeting, and it's like, "Oh, that's okay." He goes, "Oh, sorry, I was just making some deliveries." And I thought, "You're the owner of a large chain of restaurants and you're delivering some stuff to people." I thought, wow. And it sort of struck me a bit. I thought, okay, surely at this point you would be, but it's that mindset that, well,
but we've all been there in that person's defense, or even, I'll put my hand up.
Yeah.
I basically, like many other small business owners, you do everything at the beginning. Yeah. And more than likely you're saying yes to everything at the beginning too.
And that's
right.
Look, that's the default position, to do everything at the beginning. Probably where he was at, it was like, okay, it's time to let go a little bit. It can be hard to let go for a lot of these business owners when you see that in numbers.
Correct. I was about to say that. It
makes a difference.
Absolutely. Because when you start to see it line by line, where each minute's gone, what would happen if Alvin won back 15 hours of his time to do this, or to go out there? Suddenly we have more of a purpose behind the position. Versus just thinking it's better if I just do it all on my own. I'd like to ask, in your time dealing with the clients that you're with, could you share some examples of just where the value of a CFO's come in? Either uncovering financial mishaps, hopefully not too many of those, or maybe finding financial opportunities or money better spent.
So it's a good question. I spoke a little bit about it. I said that you're my favorite type of client, and what I meant by that, and as much as I enjoy your company, it's not just that. What I meant by that is you engaged me from the beginning, so we were able to set the right disciplines, the right reporting structures, cash flow planning right from the beginning.
Yep.
Unfortunately, a lot of the times, businesses are coming to see me after they're in a bit of a
pickle.
Of a jam.
Yeah.
We're operating their business for a number of years and just don't know where things are at. And I had one client in a manufacturer who, family business, was kind of in that space, and it was like, we just need to know how our business is performing. And financially, we never seem to have money, and but we pay tax at the end of the year, but it just doesn't make sense to us. So I came in and I'm going through their balance sheet and spending a little bit of time on it, and what I found was their accounts weren't set up right, and I'm not going to blame their accountant necessarily, because he was dealing with what he's got. He's not in there day to day, which can be the challenge with some accountants.
Yep.
And the staff that was there, it's not their fault either. They didn't have the expertise. They didn't know. But what I managed to uncover was there was close to $50,000 in GST, which had been entered incorrectly and not claimed properly as a result.
Wow.
Yeah, so which they were,
Wow.
they were very grateful for. And I'd love to say it was a one-off, but it's happened on a few occasions. When
there you go.
And I don't look at every transaction.
Yeah, of course.
But I take more than a surface level look. And what you call management accounting. So I sort of really dissect the numbers. And a lot of the time, this stuff gets uncovered, right? If I'm dissecting the numbers, and based on my experience, okay, this is how this should look. I know this, and I see certain transactions. I kind of know what to look for based on my experience, and where to look. And some accountants might know that, but like I said, it's time, and they're engaged to do tax planning and income tax work in a lot of cases. So I don't really expect them to go deeper dive. I take a deeper dive.
Yeah.
And I would love to say that more businesses are doing it better, but they're not. And that's what I just explained there. It's more often than not the case that when I'm coming in, it's not even my core service, but when I'm coming in, I'm finding something that is going to save them a lot of money straight off the bat.
What questions should people be asking about their business to then validate whether a second set of eyes over the situation is worthwhile? Is there any generic situations where you can go, I'm still not making enough profit? I don't know. Something as basic as that.
Cash is key.
Yeah. Why am I losing more money than I am getting?
Yeah. For sure. Good question. Cash, like I said, cash is king. So either you got money in the bank or you don't. So that's a good place to start. If you're constantly finding that you can't pay your bills, and, you never have enough money, always cash flow issues, then that's a red flag. I mean, the obvious other one is profits and profit margins. That's a good place to be looking. And a lot of the time they're not even recording it properly. Their profit margins, not factoring in things like, labor, that some certain elements of labor that might need to go into the cost of the good or the service.
It's not just about writing more sales, is it?
No.
Sometimes that doesn't necessarily feed a solution, because you still need to plan for all the tax that's ahead, all the resources and pay as you go and all that type of stuff. Encompasses that.
That was the other thing I was going to say. Tax debt, if you've got a lot of GST you haven't repaid, PAYG, which forms skip as, there's something not right there. Like if you've racked up a big debt.
Especially this is happening recurringly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's multiple people in my business networks and groups that I speak to, and they're saying the same jingle every single time I see them. And it's almost like, this is happening.
Yeah.
You got to jump onto this.
Exactly. It's usually an indicator that something's wrong. And if you think about GST, that's not your money.
Yeah, correct.
Like I'm not gonna, deceive myself into thinking we live into an ideal world where everybody should be able to pay their GST on time. There's timing differences.
Of course.
Customers get pay you late.
Yeah.
But if you're chronically late and, don't have a plan to repay it, which happens more often than not, then that's an issue. If you've got a feasible plan, even if you're paying the ATO not exactly on time, but if you've got a plan to address it, then at least you're on top of it, and you're managing your finances with a purpose.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of the time I'm coming in and there's a big debt and it hasn't been paid to the ATO and there's no payment plan, and not good position to be in.
That's right. Financial health of your business, you can either go through the prevention route or you can try go through the cure route, which usually sometimes it's a bigger hill to climb.
Yeah.
You can't always get it right either. I certainly don't always get it right.
Yeah.
But just being ahead of knowing, right, so now I know what September looks like now. If nothing else changes, if this business was to do exactly what it's doing right now, this is the cash position for September. That in itself, that's sort of the predictability part that I'm talking about, that I found unbelievable value in.
Yeah.
Because then I'm very clear what gaps I need to close. And you know what? It's also uncovered a lot of things to go, is this client the right client to me?
Yeah.
Being bold and courageous, and sometimes hearing it from a subject matter expert can validate what's deep in your conscious about the truth.
Yeah.
Whether that's dealing with a CFO or dealing with a marketer or dealing with a coach,
Yeah.
transparency is almost everything to making sure that it is a workable, sustainable, profitable relationship. And if you can't get the simple things like that, it doesn't make any sense. I'm no different when it comes to marketing. If I'm not finding that I'm getting the right information, or if simply the numbers don't line up, those bold and courageous conversations need to be set.
Yeah.
Having you on the show has been really important because there's been a lot of people that I've reached out to, as whatever it takes starts to plan in what episodes we're coming up. These aren't happening by accident. I'm actually asking customers what they want to hear. So what you've talked about today, no doubt, is going to feed back to the community, our community, around, just making sure you're doing the basics brilliantly when it comes to finance. And where you need help, there are people like you out there that can support. We'll have more information in the description of today's episode with links to Joseph's LinkedIn and the company he works for, Business Growth and Exit Specialist. And equally, guys, keep the inquiries coming in. You can always come directly through our website. And any queries that you have, I totally empower you to speak with somebody like Joe. And as Joe has mentioned, there's other great people in his industry as well that can support you. So,
Definitely.
Joseph, grateful to have you on today,
Thanks
mate.
a lot, mate.
And look forward to having you on again soon.
Thanks, Alvin. Great to be here, and all the best with it moving forward.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channels. Your support's so important to us. We hope to see you on the next episode.